The unwritten law of the bow hunter. That is, the first vital hit should be recognized as the right of possession. Now, what's that mean? The first vital hit. Anybody?
If somebody shoots a deer and then walks by your stand still wounded and you shoot it, first shot gets it, but wounded enough to die.
There you go. Elaborate on that, Rod. You've hunted enough. Now, what happens when you shoot a deer?
Someone will stand there and look at you and die, but most of the time they'll run.
Okay, they'll run. And they might run for a couple hundred yards. And in the inner city hunt, you might have another hunter a couple hundred yards legally, you know, where he's at, or in your own, area. If it's a doe, the way society is today, it's going to be your deer without any, yeah, you shot it. And by a vital hit, it's got to be in the thoracic cavity. You know, the thoracic cavity is from the diaphragm forward. And we'll talk about this a little more, but if you've got an arrow through the thoracic cavity, which is the lung area, that's a pretty fatal shot. But that deer can still run 200 yards. I've had him run 400 yards. They're going to run past another hunter. He may shoot him, thinking he's going to help you out. And now you get down and you're tracking your deer. And if it's a doe, you're probably not going to have a confrontation. But I can almost bet my boots that if it's a sizable buck, you're going to have a confrontation. What are you going to do? Anybody? You just shot a 10-point, 160-inch buck. Runs down the trail, you're on public hunting ground, runs down the trail, you've got a trackable blood trail, you're tracking it, and when you get there, there's another hunter there saying it's his deer. What are you going to do? You're going to confront the guy, get in a fist fight? You know, you got a right to carry law now. So, yeah, what you're going to have to do is, if you can't settle it in a gentleman's agreement, and you got Hillbilly Bob from Lucas County, and I hope nobody's from Lucas County, I'm just using that county as a, scenario, no worse than any other 99 in the state. You better get that cell phone out, punch that game warden up, let him know what happened. If you can get him there fast enough, and you could track blood from your stand to where that was, he may side with you. That's going to be a just call. If you shoot it through the lungs, if that guy on the other end of that is a small person, you've got a problem. If that's going to happen, the deer ain't worth getting shot over. Just go, okay, but it's your deer. Yeah, yeah. It's going to be a tough call, and it doesn't even have to. If it's your first buck and it's your buck, you're going to be mad as hell. But if you got a guy that doesn't have, remember that word ethics? If you got a guy down there putting his tag on there, and you can show him, because you went to bow hunter and went right through the thoracic cavity, you can take him back and show him where you hit the hairs on the ground, your trackable blood trail 200 yards. His stand was in between you and the deer went by him, already shot. He shoots it again. I shot the deer. Let him have it. Like I say, call a game warden, tell him what happened, maybe let them settle it out. But you're not going to win. It's going to be a tough situation without getting into a tussle. If he's that kind of person, the best thing that happened, he's out of the woods. You get to hunt tomorrow, maybe the big one's going to buy. So it's really hard. Unwritten law, first vital. Used to be first blood, but that's not a good indicator, because I mean that could be just trivial blood. But the first vital hit should be your deer. That's how the bow hunter education people and responsible people look at it. So, but don't get in an argument over it. It's not worth getting in a fight. Like I say, today, I guess the way they got it written, the guy can have a gun on him in his truck. He can't have it on him in the field at the bow season, but he could go to the truck and tell him he thought you were going to kick his butt or do great bodily harm, and he thought it's threatening. He could shoot you. I mean, he might end up in court, but you're going to end up in the ground. So so really watch that. You're going to have to do some practicing also. These 3D targets are just an excellent way, especially setting in a natural setting. and you go out and take your son. It's not like golf. I mean, if it's a hot day, don't go, but if it's a nice day, man, that's great practice. And how many just rove around and shoot? Remember the judo points? Rove around in their woods and shoot dirt clumps and stuff like that. Okay, that's another good way to do it. And I know old school, that's how we used to do it. You just get your bow, wander around. 1st of September, squirrel season's on. You pick out a clump of dirt, boom. You know, you can practice that way. It's called roving. It's really a nice way. But you should practice, and you should practice a lot to where when that buck comes by, you have the confidence. Because believe you me, you beginning hunters, if you don't turn the bull a jelly, I'll give you $100. If you stand rock solid and your first deer comes up, you got to pick that spot. And shooting into these 3D tournaments, they're not tournaments anymore. They're just social events. Go out and enjoy yourself and you meet other hunters. And don't try to make be in a competition unless you choose to, but you can still shoot. Excellent way of practicing. Or come in here and shoot these targets. They're 3D targets. But John, learn how to judge distance. Does anybody know the word, what subtending means? Subtending? All right, I gotta get my ball. Subtending, and I didn't know what it was either, because to me that was on the internet test. If I take an object on my bow, like the roundness of the sight, and I can put it on that deer, and it covers up that whole deer at 20 yards, that whole round circle, and then I move back, and it's covered up at 30 yards, it's going to cover up less. It's a fixed object, and if I move back, maybe I got to have my whole bow sight at 40 yards to cover up that deer. You find a fixed object on your bow, that was before pins, but that's what subtending is. It's trying to judge distance on what a fixed object on your bow compares to from different yardage, how big it compares on the animal.
Fire, range fire.
Yeah. I just get it. If you practice, and you can practice this all the time. And you're out mowing the grass or something, and you look at that fence post and you go, there's a deer down there. Boom. 30 yards. Step it off. 30 yards. And I always had a bad habit. My stride was different, so if I set my bow to my 30 yards, and then if I go with somebody that's actually measured it off, they're actually got 30 yards. I got 30 yards of my own stride because that's how my eye sees it. So I set it up to my own preference on how I judge it, and it gets the job done. But do a lot of field preparation before you get into the field. I want you to be prepared when you get there.